Athena and Poseidon had been the Greeks' greatest allies among the gods, but when Troy fell, all that had changed. The Greeks went mad with victory the night they entered the city. They forgot what was due to the gods, and on their voyage home they were terribly punished. Cassandra, one of Priam's daughters, was a prophetess. Apollo had loved her and given her the power to foretell the future. Later, he turned against her because she refused his love, and although he could not take back his gift, divine favors once bestowed might not be revoked. He made it of no account. No one ever believed her. She told Trojans each time what would happen. They would never listen to her. She declared that Greeks were hidden in the wooden horse. No one gave her words a thought.
Good king, I swear, beware of the Greeks and their gifts.
This woman lies as she breathes.
Push it to the gates!
When the Greeks sacked the city, she was in Athena's temple, clinging to her image, under the goddess' protection. The Greeks found her there, and they dared to lay violent hands on her. Ajax, not the great Ajax, of course, who was dead, but a lesser chieftain of the same name, tore her from the altar and dragged her out of the sanctuary. Not one Greek protested against the sacrilege. Athena's wrath was deep. She went to Poseidon and laid wrongs before him.
Seven giants, give the Greeks a better homecoming. Stir up waters with wild winds when they say, let them cross the base and line the shores with
Poseidon agreed. Troy was a heap of ashes by now. He could afford to lay aside his anger against the Trojans. In the fearful tempest which struck the Greeks after they left for Greece, Agamemnon came near to losing all his ships. Menelaus was blown to Egypt, and the arch-sinner, sacrilegious Ajax was drowned. At the height of the storm, his boat was shattered and sank, but he succeeded in swimming to shore. He would have been safe if in his mad folly he had not cried out that he was one of the sea, could not drown. Such arrogance always aroused the anger of the gods. Poseidon broke off the jagged bit of rock to which he was clinging. Ajax fell, and the waves swept him away to his death. Odysseus did not lose his life, but if he did not suffer as much as some of the Greeks, he suffered longer than them all. He wandered for 10 years before he saw his home. When he reached it, the little son he had left there was grown to manhood. 20 years had passed since Odysseus sailed for Troy. On Ithaca, the island where his home was, things had gone from bad to worse. Everyone by now took it for granted that he was dead, except Penelope, his wife, and his son Telemachus. They almost despaired, but not quite. All the people assumed that Penelope was a widow and could and should marry again. From the islands round about, and of course from Ithaca, men came swarming to Odysseus' house to woo his wife. She would have none of them. The hope that her husband would return was faint, but it never died. Moreover, she detested every one of them, and so did Telemachus, and with good reason. They were rude, greedy, overbearing men, who spent their days sitting on the great hall of the house, devouring Odysseus' store of provisions, slaughtering his cattle, his sheep, his swine, drinking his wine, burning his wood, giving orders to his servants. They would never leave, they declared, until Penelope consented to marry one of them.
Third Antinous, Lord Eurymachus, nobles of Ithaca. Any news about my father?
None. Your father died a long time ago.
You cannot say that. There is no evidence. All those who fought nearest Troy went home long ago. Or the Lord Odysseus is dead and the sea is his tomb. Or he chose not to return and abandon your mother and you and remarry. Mother! The men are in the lobby. They say that they come for you. The man who say that my father is dead.
They brought presents.
And I received them. And you too. So this is the custom. Welcome our guests. Feed them. Your father respected these uses. Too. You will do the same.
No way!
Termin! Milante!
Mistress, you're still beautiful, the noblest of Ithaca. It is nice begging you.
Penelope had at first hoped to tire them out. She told them that she could not marry until she had woven a very fine and exquisitely wrought shroud for Odysseus' father, the aged Laertes, against the day of his death. They had to give in to so pious a purpose, and they agreed to wait until the work was finished.
I will shroud for my husband's disappeared. If it does not reappear nearest Ithaca before I finish, I will choose one of you to take his place nearest me.
I will send my servant to help you.
I have to perform the task alone.
Build one!
We will be old men when you're done.
I rely as your honor. Go home. You will know my decisions.
We stay where we are. We will not leave until you have made your choice.
But it never was, inasmuch as Penelope unwove each night that she would woven during the day. But finally the trick failed. One of her handmaidens told the suitors, and they discovered her in the very act. Of course, after that they were more insistent and unmanageable than ever. So matters stood when the 10th year of Odysseus' wanderings neared its close. Odysseus began his wanderings when he left the Troy, and the storm struck their fleet. They came to the country of the winds, ruled over by King Aeolus. Zeus has made him keeper of the winds, to still them or arouse them at his will.
You're surprised. Admit it. I see that you're surprised. Worry. I am Aeolus, god of the winds. This is my island. Your gentle breezes and strong spirit. Well, since I am the creator, why don't you allow me to be? Advance. Do not be afraid. Come here. You know me? Everyone knows you. Odysseus, the great hero, who beat the Trojan horse. But few Greeks know that you're the only king who cannot go home. Poseidon still believes he can stop Guess who is the keeper of the wind. It's me.
Then show it to me.
Give me that. Full of mischief, I felt only the west wind free. Because you are the first.
Aeolus received them hospitably, and when they left, He gave Odysseus a parting gift, a leather sack into which he had put all the storm winds. It was so tightly fastened that not the very least puff of any wind that spells danger for a ship could leak out. In this excellent situation for sailors, Odysseus' crew managed to bring them all near to death. They thought the carefully stored bag was probably full of gold. At any rate, they wanted to see what was in it. They opened it, with the result, of course, that all of the winds rushed out at once and swept them away in a terrific tempest. Finally, after days of danger, they saw land, but they had better have stayed on the stormy sea, for it was the country of the Lystrigons, a people of gigantic size and cannibals too. These horrific folk destroyed all Odysseus' ships, except the one he himself was in, which had not yet entered the harbor when the attack was made. They had come to Aea, the realm of Circe, a most beautiful and most dangerous witch. Every man who approached her she turned into a beast. Only his reason remained as before. He knew what had happened to him. She enticed into her house the party Odysseus dispatched to spy out the land, and there she changed them into swine. She penned them in a sty and gave them acorns to eat. They ate them, they were swine. Yet inside they were men, aware of their vile state but completely in her power. Luckily for Odysseus, one of the party had been too cautious to enter the house. He watched what happened and fled in horror back to the ship. The news drove any thought of caution out of Odysseus. He started off all alone. Not one of the crew would go with him to try to do something, bring some help to his men. On his way, Hermes met him. He seemed a young man, of that age when youth looks its loveliest. He told Odysseus he knew a herb which could save him from Circe's deadly art.
I knew a herb which could save you from Circe's deadly art. You must eat this herb.
Then what would happen if I eat the herb?
If you eat this, you can be fall to Circe's deadly art.
When Circe had used on Odysseus the magic which had always hitherto been successful, and to her amazement saw him stand unchanged before her, she so marveled at the man who could resist her enchantment that she loved him. She was ready to do whatever he asked, and she turned his companions at once back into men again. She treated them all with such kindness, feasting them sumptuously in her house, that for a whole year they stayed happily with her.
Your wife is old, Odysseus. Time has done her work. Its beauty will never equal mine.
No more talking machine. What happened now?
She has aged.
When I come back, we will grow old together.
With me, you never grow old. Never die. And you became immortal.
I prefer to live immortal. Die in the arms of my wife.
When at last they felt that the time had come to depart, she used her magical knowledge for them. She found out what they must do next in order to reach home safely. It was a fearful undertaking she put before them. They must cross the river ocean and beach the ship of Persephone's shore, where there was an entrance to the dark realm of Hades. Odysseus then must go down and find the spirit of the prophet Tiresias, who has been the holy man of Thebes.
Your soul will be washed away by the flames.
You have always followed. You are my warrior. Your time must not run in. Arriving at this house, we have suffered the loss of many comrades.
Together and now.
It may well be that we are together.
If you get there,
It is I who would be lost without you eventually. You will reach Ithaca. Sir, is not for you. Antipost. Prisyo Trefeas on me.
here is your life. When you have understood this, you will understand the meaning of wisdom.
I find one. Help me find my nearest way.
The answer was in your eyes. All the nights at sea, from this side of the kingdom of Poseidon.
This way, my son.
Mother,
She's waiting for you.
where?
You must be quick. Men trying to steal your wife.
Penelope was alive and waiting for me.
From Circe, he had learned that after speaking to the sea's prophet at Hades, they also need to pass through the island of Sirens. These were marvelous singers whose voices would make a man forget all else, and at last their song would steal his life away. A sea peril next awaited them, the passage between Scylla and Charybdis. All men were drowned except Odysseus. Then he drifted for days until finally he was cast ashore on Calypso's island, where he had to stay for many years. 10 years, however, is a long time for anger to last. The gods had by now grown sorry for Odysseus, with the single exception of Poseidon, and Athena was sorriest of all. The Olympians were moved by her words. They felt that Odysseus had deserved better at their hands, and Zeus spoke for them all when he said they must put their heads together and contrive a way for him to return. If they were agreed, could not stand alone against them. Odysseus was a virtual prisoner on an island ruled over by the nymph Calypso, who loved him and planned never to let him go. In every other way except in giving him his freedom, she overwhelmed him with kindness. All that she had was at his disposal.
That's true. All men are dead.
You have to forget.
No!
But Odysseus was utterly wretched. He longed for his home, his wife, his son. He spent his days on the seashore, searching the horizon for a sail that never came, sick with longing to see even the smoke curling up from his house. For his part, Zeus said he would send Hermes to Calypso to tell her that she must start Odysseus on his voyage back. Athena, well pleased, left Olympus and glided down to Ithaca. She had already made her plans.
Hermes, get out of here.
Calypso, you keep a man prisoner.
I gave him a home.
The fate of Odysseus is not to end his days on your island. You have to give him his freedom.
They are outraged to see me openly. Having sex with immortal, it was I who shut the sea. You are jealous of my happiness.
Beware of the anger of Zeus. Give him his man his freedom, or else your island will dip in the sea.
No! Go. Find your Penelope.
Why? A ship dock.
No. Now go. Swim. I don't care. I don't want to see you.
Now you want me to leave.
Because you're not worthy of it.
Why have you been this?
Someone wants to see you.
Nearest you must help me build a boat. Please.
If you like, build a boat or you.
Calypso gloomily set about the necessary preparations. She told Odysseus, who was at first inclined to think it all a trick on her part to do something detestable to him, drown him, very likely, but she finally convinced him. She would help him build a splendidly strong raft. She promised him and sent him away on it equipped with everything necessary. Never did any man do work more joyfully than Odysseus made his raft. 20 great trees furnished the wood, all very dry so that they would float high. On the raft, Calypso put food and drink in abundance, even a sack of dainties Odysseus especially liked. At last, after many years and great dangers, he had reached the Phaeacian land. The king of the land met him and assured that they would send him home that very day. The sailors had set him ashore while he was sleeping, ranged his belongings beside him. He was now in Ithaca.
That's why I love you, my Odysseus. You alone have the patience.
So tell me, I did my homework this time.
Refrain as contenders.
I am not afraid of it.
But it's range. You lie still going strong, Odysseus. But I know what's on your head. You fear that your Penelope was not great incident. I'm afraid I cannot help you, but only your son as you recognize these traits. Find the answer you seek. You will not recognize your house when you see what they have done. You want to kill too. The hour of battle has not yet come. That anger is easy but turn against a man. And for good reason is difficult.
Odysseus, Odysseus!